Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wa rabbil alameen. Assalatu salam ala rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Halin wa salim bikum. Salamu alaikum rahmatullahi katu lil ikhwani wati fi din. Salamu ala mani tabahuda lil ikhwani wati fi Africa, Europa, America, Caribbean, wa kula makan. To my Fulbright community on Jarama, Assalam, Jautali. How you doing today, my dear brothers and sisters? This is kind of a short notice, and I've been having serious problems with internet and so forth, so on. And of course, my troubles with the enemies of the black man and Muslims in particular. So today I'm going to talk about something. Let me see who we have here. Let me honor a guest here. We have, how you doing, my dear brother? Wa alaikum salam, my dear brother. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, my dear brother. Today, brothers and sisters, we're going to talk about something that affects every human being. I don't care if he's Muslim, Jew, if he's Christian, or he's Juju, or whomever. The topic that a lot of people don't discuss because it's a topic that's serious in many ways, and many people don't want to talk about it because the world opinion and thought is that when you're born, you're going to live to you're 100 or 120 years old, and then you worry about at this time. But it's not the case. And especially in today's time, we're starting to witness many things. Something came out yesterday, one of my favorite astrophysics, Mr. deGrasse. He talked about today, they had just now discovered that the Earth now is even spinning quicker than it was before. All this ties into what the Nabi alayhi said, meaning the days now will start to become shorter. This is what the Prophet alayhi, he said that we will have these days where the days become shorter. And as you notice now, you have a weekend, suddenly you wake up and it's Friday again. The days are just going by real quick. The years are flying by. Now, they just confirmed the Earth is now spinning quicker than it was before. It makes the days shorter as we go. Salvation has always plagued man of all ages. We've always had many thoughts about salvation, about what's going to happen to us, and so forth and so on. And this is a pervading thought that many scholars have tried to tackle. Our people, our ancestors in ancient Tamari or Kemp, they did have many answers to this. But the majority of the answers to this was the final messenger of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, our prophet, our Nabi, alayhi salam, and he went into this, and he talked a lot about this issue. And so he uncovered many of the mysteries that our ancestors in ancient Kemp did not have. They knew, but they did not have answers to this. By the time the final messenger came, our Prophet Muhammad had many, many answers to those mysteries about what we're about ready to discuss. Thank you, my dear brother, for showing up today. Thank you very much. This is, he's in class today. Yeah, let me see let me put him back what he's got. That's right, he's back into swinging thing now. And all the freedom is gone. Now he's got to start to attend his class, and teach his class and so on and so on. And so my dear brother showed up today. Thank you very much, my dear brother. Yeah, he's back in school and everything. So, go ahead, my dear brother, take care of those students. And so we're going to tackle this issue in a series. I'm not going to, because there's a lot to uncover. Because why? If you look at scholars of Islam, and no one has a consensus on this topic. Nobody. Meaning Everybody has a definition. You take anybody on the street today, I don't care where you're at. You can be here in Africa, you can be here in Morocco, where I'm at. You can be in Los Angeles, California, Dallas, or Washington, D.C. You ask people on the street this question about the soul and the spirit, you'll get different answers because none of us have the answers, and that's by design. That's by design because this is the domain of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. But we do have some things that we have. Now, I'm going to show you something again that the beginning, our people, our ancestors were given the message from Subhanahu wa Ta'ala about Tawheed. Then the final messenger was also given the same message about Tawheed, but now everything is finalized. The mysteries, as you heard me say, that prevailed thousands and thousands of years ago have been basically solved to a degree by our Nabi alayhi salam. And that's important to understand. But there's something, brothers and sisters, that, again, I had some wrote me back again saying, no, it's wrong. You cannot talk about what happened in ancient Kemet versus Islam. No, you didn't bother watch my tape. And again, there is something. There's another scholar, another Sufi scholar, who's now brought up the same issues that I've been raising. He brought the issues about he's finding Met Neher inside the Quran. And we talked about this issue before. It's not that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, that the Muslims took the book forthcoming by day and night and then copied from that and then formed the Quran. No, but the same Tawheed, message Tawheed was given to that prophet 9,000 years or so. But he did not have everything. He was given a mission for those people at that time. Just like Isa alayhi salam, he was given a mission for those people at that time. See, those who were sent to India, they said Buddha, who was sent, gave message of Tawheed, they deviate from, but he was given for that population. Our Nabi alayhi salam was given his mission for all of mankind. So we must have that understood, and that we're not talking here about the issue of the Muslims copied off the ancient brothers in Africa and so forth. It's not the case, brothers and sisters. But we have something here, brothers and sisters, that we have to, you've been hearing me talk about this many times now, and many now other scholars. Me and King Cam, please subscribe to Station 2, brothers and sisters. Please subscribe to our brother's station. It's greatly appreciated. He has an outstanding program. Now, we have to say something about this. Again, because when you deal with the spirit and the soul, we have to look at the first. This was the first Tawheed that was given by Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in Met Neher, which was the official language of our brothers in ancient Tamari or Kemet. I'm not going to use the name because those who follow me knows what I'm talking about. Those who follow King Cam know what we're talking about. Northeast Africa, in a region that they have another name for it. I'm not going to use that at this time. I've used it enough. Now those who follow me know what I'm talking about, and you know what I'm talking about. Met Neher. This language, this here means the language of what? Of God, meaning language of Ra, meaning language of Yahweh, any name you want to use in the vernacular that's best suited for where you can understand. The Ba is related to the Ra. This in Islam. See, again, we were given messages. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala finalized a message about the soul and the spirit. The Ka and the Nefs in Islam, in Arabic, and so forth, is related. Meaning, again, you say, well, I don't understand why this and that. Well, you have to understand something. When our ancestors first came on the scene, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala put us there. They went up the Nile River, the Nile. This is the language that they spoke. So you can't say 9,000 years ago or so, these brothers should have been speaking Arabic. Arabic was not created for thousands and thousands and thousands of years after that. I think Arabic, we know Arabic, Hebrew was first. We know that Hebrew came about, I think around I'm trying to remember now, almost around about the 21st or 22nd dynasty in ancient Kemet. But I can't really say, for instance, on that aspect. But the ba and the ra and the ka and the nefs are the same. It's just the definitions may be a little different, but it has the same meaning. Again, in Islam, our Prophet ﷺ gave us this indication about the outer soul, meaning that's travel. The difference between the two is the nefs is what you see that which it can be corrupted. The devil can come to you, Shaitan can come to you, make you drink, smoke, or do things and say things, and it's always being in remission, it's always having something to do. It still belongs to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Your nafs or your ka is housed in your body. Your body is a caretaker to protect the nafs. See, now we know that some other ancestral beings we're starting to hear this, are running in different dimensions and so forth and so on. They're putting themselves in bodies in order for the human beings to understand. See, but I'm not going to get into that today. But our bodies, brothers and sisters, is something that houses our nefs. So Subhanahu wa Ta'ala created that in order. That's why it's removed, and the body is degraded. When you die, the body doesn't stay as it is. It disintegrates, and the nefs is free. The ruh is controlled by Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. It's not corrupted, meaning it's not under the influences basically of that of Shaitan or the worldly life and so forth and so on. It's away from that. It's something that's more pure and everything. But we still don't have all the answers. What makes these two click into a degree? You look at the famous scholars of Islam, none will give you the same answer. Each one has its own answer because it's for a reason. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, this is his domain. He's given us some, our Prophet ﷺ gave some answers to this, but still there's a lot of other mysteries behind it because it's in the domain of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Our brothers in Mali, called the Dogon people, they said that they were told by those from the seers, you heard me talk about this before, they said that the two, the ba, the ka, or the ra, and the nefs in Islam, they meet at the time of death, and they meet and they travel and they rest in a holding area in Sirius, the star system. This is what they said. Now, we know that the ruh is settled somewhere, and we wait until the calling of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. The contention everybody keeps saying is that when we die, everything stays there in the grave, and then when Subhanahu wa Ta'ala calls us up, then it leaves. This is not the case. I don't believe this because it doesn't, how can I say, it doesn't really make sense to a degree, because when you pass, your soul is basically snatched away from you. So, and many of the scholars of Islam believe that the soul is free. This is why you have some remnants of this when you sleep. Remember, we talked about this. We talked about this drug that the brain manufacturers called DMT. And we talked about how when you dream at night, none of us, you, me, anyone, none of us can sit and say, before you get ready to sleep, say, you know what, I'm going to dream about, going to the store, buy candy, or I'm dreaming about the new car I want, or I'm dreaming about this new house that I want to build. No, you cannot. But when you have the dreams, your spirit is free to a degree. This is why you're traveling, you're going in the air, you're going from one distance to another distance in a very short span of time. And then when Subhanahu wa ta'ala says time for you to wake up, your spirit is then pushed back into its its body, or your ka. Your ka is placed back into the body. See, and then when, of course, when it passes, that's why I'll get deeper into this. I'll give you what was said by many of our favorite and brilliant scholars and others who talk about this issue. What differs? This differs greatly. This is why we always talk about this. When you have Meh Neher and you have the religious situation of the Ba and the Ka, which they call, in that day, they called the Ka. It wasn't the Ka and Ba, it was just called the Ka. And then when Islam came, which is the final message, these two particularly led the way. You talk to Christians today, they cannot, even their experts can't give you a really confined definition, because the Bible, yes, is the word of Subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we know that many of its entries come from man himself, and others coming from the book forthcoming by day and night, and by other persons. We know this. See, we know this. And so this is why they don't have the sciences per se to answer these questions, nor can they answer the questions right. That's why inside the United States today, you have something that I don't laugh about this. I don't mean this in a bad way, but you listen to somebody, this person has, like the American thought now, especially in the West, but America in particular, is the thought is, you're born, you do what you want to do. You don't have to answer to nobody. And then when you die, then everybody say, well, you be looking down and from heaven down at your family. Or when your grandfather or grandmother passes, you say they're in heaven now looking, as though they don't have any, it's like there's no judgments, no nothing. See, this is where we differ with the Christians, because we know this is not the case. And even Isa alayhi salam, who Jesus didn't say that, but this is because the Europeans took it and they added more to it, based by their color and by their nationality. They automatically reaches the heavens, which is preposterous. And any of the major religions is preposterous. Not major religion because Christianity, but it is preposterous to think that the man's color is what is give him a destination, is automatically you go to heaven. That is absolutely incredible. But this is what is the thought, and it's wrong. We got another brother here. How you doing, my brother? Alaikum salam, brother. Shalom alaikum. Thank you very much. May the hidden one source be behind the sun, creators, all things bless you. Thank you very much, my dear brother. Thank you very much for that comment. Thank you, my dear brother. And so, again, brothers and sisters, we have an issue that our brother just touched on something. Let's go back to our brother's comment. Let's go back to our brother's comment here, because this is tied in to what we talk about, the spirit and the soul. Our ancestors were so focused on that. Why? Because Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them something. They were focused on this. This is why they developed a system that would take you from the worldly life to the grave, and then to the grave into the heavens. See, and they realized that the hidden one, Amin Ra, Amin Re, Ra, any names you want in Meh, to Yahweh in Hebrew, to Subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah and Islam. The thing that again deals with this is all a nexus. It's the hidden one. It's the hidden one. Our brother talked here about the hidden one. See, again, it's him who is controller of the spirit and the soul, or the soul and the spirit. It's the hidden one. It's the nexus. It's the matrix. Our ancestors in ancient Kemet understood this. See, so That's why, like I said, this type of talk, brothers and sisters, may be different. Some people may not like it because they say, well, hey, my salvation, I'm good to go. I live in Dallas, or I live in Texas, or I live in, I live in Los Angeles. So, hey, everything. That's not the case, because you have to look at everything. Even our ancestors in ancient Kemp, in ancient Tasseti, and other places, and even when they went to West Africa, they realized there was something that you had to do in order for you to have a good life in the hereafter. The Americans in particular, the Tubab, changed all that by making it that even black folk inside the United States believe, because they followed the Tubab, they believe that them, just by being American and citizenship with a passport, is an entitlement that will lead you to the heavens, the time of death. And it's not the case. Because even in Hebrew, even if you look, even in the Torah, which Subhanahu wa Ta'ala said is a guidance. Let's get that out again. I want people to understand that, because there's people who will say, no, Islam damns Judaism and Christianity. There was no such thing as Christianity. Jesus' way, he is sanctioned by Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, which most Christians don't follow that. The Torah was a guidance by Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Okay, he says this in the Quran. It's there. So now, brothers and sisters, as we look at this, and if we start to get more into this aspect, I want you to think about something. Because when our ancestors were walking about in Tahmeri, in Tasseti, Ta-Nehesi, in these areas, when it came to West Africa, and especially in the desert, anybody who's been in the Sahara, there's something magical about it. And me and I'll see my cousin, he has arrived here. I don't know if he's busy today. When you go to Sahara in particular, I noticed something that's very striking. How close the moon is, and how the stars that you don't see in the city, suddenly they just fill the sky. It is absolutely amazing and fascinating. You see shooting stars, you see bright stars and solar systems and so forth and so on with the naked eye, but again, you do not have the definition because you do not know, but you see some things brighter than the other. But what makes this interesting is when you're in the Sahara, there's a place that makes you have deeper worship than you can in the city. I know that when I went to the desert, I know how it was when it's time to worship. The prayer I felt so, it's like I was outside of a box, and the prayer was so nice. And I was in the sand. And when I was in the sand, which is fascinating, you think your clothes will get dirty. It doesn't. Brother, sister, and I wore white. And so when you pray in the sand rolls right off your toe, but we know here in the Arabic language, we know is gandura, and it rolls right off. You get it, put it in your hand. You can use it even to clean yourself. We had to. I'm not gonna get that's Islamic, some of the rules by Islam, but you can use this to wash your hands with, so forth and so on, and whatnot. But again, brothers and sisters, when you in the Sahara, you begin to think about the spirit and the soul. This is what is fascinating. You begin to think about that because it seems like you're freer, and it's some mystery and something fear to it as well when you're there, especially when it turns dark at night. Oh man, you can't see nothing. Only thing you can see is the stars up, and all the thousands and millions of stars that you see that you cannot see in the desert. I mean, in the city, you just cannot. Even on a clear day, you just cannot. And this is what is fascinating about this. And time immemorial, the Fulani, the the Tuareg, in particular, they man cattle. But when you get further deeper into the Sahara, you can't man cattle because there's no water, and so from so on. They're water wells, but the cattle need greenery to eat, and there's no. And when you get into deeper part in the Sahara, you cannot send. So, but our brothers did travel with Tuareg or even in other clans, and they made their way up to the north, or they went further east or to the west. See, and they used the stars in the sky to guide themselves. But again, when you talk and read documents that our brother wrote, our Fulani brothers in particular, they talked about this closeness that they feel when they're in the Sahara, and how you seem to be so close. And when you know when you're there, you see the moon, you can see all the I mean, it's absolutely. If I had a telescope, I tell you, because you can see craters, you can see the moon clear when you're in the Sahara. Beautiful. It's beautiful, brothers and sisters. It is absolutely gorgeous. And so, you know, I'm touching on basic parts of this because I'm going to prepare you for the coming talks that I'm going to have. Again, this may not be a cup of tea because many people have their own and say, look, you know, I don't need you to talk to me about salvation. You know, whatever the situation may be, I already know. As I said, you talk to 1 million people, you'll get 1 million answers. But none of us have all of it, but some of us do have some to talk about it. And that's why I'm talking about it today, because I want to give you that instance, especially about our ancient ancestors and so forth. And I want to tie in the ancient times to the modern times, see, and whatnot, because I can't put Christianity here because Christianity doesn't have a definition of this per se. They talk about the Trinity, they talk about this and that. All this doesn't make sense. But in Islam, we have many verses tying you in, getting you to understand what is the nafs, what is the rah. Okay, we have that, and Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has given these answers. In Mahnahar, we do have these instances about what is the ba and what is the ka. And again, the ka is the nafs in Arabic. The ba is the ruh in Arabic and Islam. And what makes this so fascinating, brothers and sisters, one brother wrote, and it's too bad, I may have to look at translate it. He wrote, he started to find some things in the Quran too, where he called it the language of Pharaoh, because he still doesn't have the history of ancient Kemet. But he was talking about the language of the Pharaoh. He started to find some of this in the Quran, which I already knew. But now he's starting to find it. There's other Sufi who have found this nexus. See, and so forth and so on. And it's a fascinating situation, because I gave it to you before about some of the beginnings of the lettering, some of the verses. Many of our Islamic scholars have wrestled with this for centuries, and they have not come up with the answer, because they forgot about the ancient Kemetic people, the Kimtiyu. They forgot about this knowledge. They didn't know about this knowledge, perhaps. If they knew about this, they could have went back and tried to help to understand why Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is using Metaneher in the Quran. Why is that? Because the Metaneher is the words of God. You got to understand that, brothers and sisters. So our Muslim brothers and sisters don't get mad and say, this is mushrikeen, this is so forth. It's not. Because Subhanahu wa Ta'ala gave Metaneher as a language that explained Tawheed from the beginning. The final message was given into the Nabi and the population, and for all of us, was Arabic. In the time, thousands, over 5,000 years ago, Metaneher was the language. Even when the Europeans came to ancient time Mary, they had to learn Metaneher in order to survive. When the Europeans were in the Dark Ages, when they came back to Africa to send their brightest students, because they were in the Dark Ages, they had to learn Arabic in order to study. But when they came out of the Dark Ages and they developed their racism and their genocidal racist tendencies of killing and taking over people's countries, then they threw out these languages and made Latin and English and so forth as the lingua franca of the world. And in order to gain knowledge today, you have to have this background of English in particular. If you want to be a doctor, you have to master a lot of Latin. See, so this is, again, brothers and sisters, the base essence. Now, the Ba and the Ka, again, is controlled by Subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Ruh and the Nefs is controlled by Subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Nefs, again, and I'm going to get deeper into this, brothers and sisters, at a later time. The Nefs is a free spirit to a degree, meaning that Subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the human beings the free nature to not to do what they want, but he gives you freedom and you have to suffer the consequences for that. The Ruh right here is a separate issue. It's pure. Subhanahu wa ta'ala controls it. We still don't have the answers for this. And Meheneher, the Ba, which is the Ruh in Arabic, the Ba, again, is the spirit that our ancestors believe that hovered into the heavens. And your Ka is what was there on the earth. And when you die, your Ka is released. But when you die, you're now entombed. When you're entombed, your Ka leaves. But this process now is called Ka-Ra. Ka-Ra. The Fulani people still have Ba, Ka, and Ka-Ra in its makeup and language. They still carry this. The Nefs, we understand, will be taken from you because Subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us this in the Quran. Our Prophet has told us about this. And we even have stories of people thinking that they escaped death. The famous story about the one who left and he went into India and that the angels finally caught up with him because you cannot hide. Because when the angels of death come for your soul, it's over. I don't care where you go. You can't hide behind a tree. You can't go in the water and hide. You can't go dig a cave or something and stay in the cave. When it's time for you to be called up, it's over. And the angels of death will come to take your soul. There's no doubt about this. So perplexing was this that our brothers and sisters made it so that they had confessions. This is our ancient brothers in Tamari. They had confessions that they had to recite at the time the Ka, before the Ka was taken. And if you lived according to these confessions, which are positive and negative confessions, there's 42 each of these, both of these. The side of the Nefs in Islam, we're told that when we enter the grave, we'll have two angels. One will be good, and the other one is the one who has destined you now to go to the hellfire. And you'll be questioned in the grave about what you believed, and you'll have your book, because the angels write everything. And you'll have your book, which will be examined before you. So you won't be able to tell the angels at this time, no, that's not true. I didn't steal over here. No, I worship this time. They will have your full book at hand. See, and that's why the Muslims are preparing themselves for their death, so they won't get caught in the grave. Our ancient ancestors, the same way. They wanted you to understand the 42 negative confessions and the positive confessions. I did not steal. I did not cover my neighbor's wife. I didn't kill, and so forth and so on. I didn't disrespect Subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, it's a whole list of these things that you had to perform during your lifetime in order you to make it to the next level. In order for the Ka and the Ba to meet, according to the Metanet, according to our ancient brothers, what they felt, what they were told, and what they believed. In Islam, you will not be able to reach these the seven heavens unless you have lived a life and with the mercy of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. I don't care who you are, how good you think you are. It's from the mercy of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala that determines. It's not you because you're American, not because you are white in color, or not because you're a famous athlete and entertainer, and then you go automatically and you don't have to have no accounting for nothing. You do what you want until you die, and everything's okay. It's not the case, brothers and sisters. Our ancient ancestors didn't believe that, because if they did, even our ancient ancestors, you would not be required to read those confessions. See, that's and Christianity, Eurocentric Christianity, has really taken people to out of it. It's so far removed that's why in Islam we believe those who worship this is going to the hellfire, because they did not get this from Prophet Jesus or Isa. We know him in Arabic, and under Subhanahu wa Ta'ala knows him as Yahya. My name, Yahya. That's how he knows him. See, I mean, Isa in Arabic. So again, brothers and sisters, the Islamic way of life prepares you for the hereafter. The Mehr, what was given to the ancestors at that time, prepared them for the next, what they believe. But again, we do not have all the answers, because Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is his domain. We do not know who will be granted that mercy of his to put us into heaven and so forth and so on. We do not have this information yet. We do not have this. We may not even get it because of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's information. So I gave you these things today, brothers and sisters. Okay, yeah, I talked about this the other day, but the spirit and the soul, this is a lot part of this. See, and again, we have to look at it in this sense. But I'm going to cover deeper into this the next time, because I'm going to close here pretty soon here. I'm going to go deeper into this, because this is a topic that is worth discussing, and I want to give you everything for you to think about, because none of us can say the next day we're going to be alive, because Subhanahu wa Ta'ala can take your soul in sleep. You do not know if you're going to live your next birthday, next year, or whatever situation. You have no way of knowing this. You should prepare yourself for the hereafter. This is for the Muslims, because we believe that since the Jewish prophets made this comment, even the Christians are faulty because their books have been so corrupted. But I'll say this, and I will get ready to close, brothers and sisters, for the Christians. The Samaritans were very close in many regards to Muslims, very, very close. Do you know that during the time of Andalus, when we went in 711, okay, remember my talk about everybody, we know about the Moors and so forth. That's what they begin to call them, because the Moors were a collection of many African ethnic groups. Tuareg, Fulani, Senike, Bambara, Wolof are there. I forgot who. There's a whole, Amazigh, what they call Muzab. They all went into Andalus and kicked butt to help to free, basically, the Samaritans. Samaritans left, and when Samaritans began to, because they were being persecuted. Why? Because they were Orthodox Christians, meaning they believed that Jesus, alayhi salatu wasalam, was a prophet, not a God. The other Christians said, no, you're wrong. And they began to persecute them, and they began to leave. They found haven with the Muslims. This is in many eras that the Samaritans have always come to live under the protection of the Muslims. That's right. In 711, this is no different. They came and they began to migrate into present-day Tunisia, as you understand today. They began to live there, where there was discussion between their scholars and Islamic scholars, and they lived together and they had discussions, because under Islamic law, you can still keep your religion. There's no compulsion in Islam. You cannot force anybody to become a Muslim except certain circumstances. At the time of war, there's a three series of demands that can be given to the enemy at that time. But the Samaritans, to shorten the story, they did come in 711 and begin to come to North Africa, and they lived with the Muslims to be under their protection because they were being persecuted. And the Prophet ﷺ was a boy of 12 years old. There was a Samaritan scholar. He was an old man. This is what I'm trying to bring a point to you about this, brothers and sisters. He had been waiting all his life for the new prophet. He knew the new prophet was going to be an Arab. He knew this because the books that was laid forth by, you know him as John the Baptist, we know him as Yahya in the Arabic language, and he's talked about, especially in Surah Maryam, which is the only, you cannot find anything on her. I mean, you find things on her and other, the Bible and the Bible, yes, but we have a full surah dedicated to her, and we honor her as the most pure of all women, as the best example of a woman can be. We honor her and we love her, and we make an intention for the Muslims that they must believe in Jesus. If you don't, you cannot be Muslim. So you read Surah Maryam, which you know in English is Mary, but John the Baptist, okay, has a book that the Christians, of course, they decimated many of the books they didn't want out. John the Baptist talked about the forthcoming of Jesus and the prophet that will follow him. That's right. You don't see it in your Bible. That's for a reason, because they took that out. He talked about the last remaining prophets. He was given this information. This Samaritan had the books. So now Jesus ﷺ had already passed through. He was an old man waiting for the new prophet to come. He knew he was coming from the Arabs. So the story is that the Nabi ﷺ was now 12 years old. When he came across now he was a very wise boy. On the caravans, there's robbers, stealers, there's people, cutthroats in the desert. We call them muharaba, is what you call them in Arabic language. These people who rob people in the desert, out in the open, and take your goods, kill people, and take the women, all that. We call muharaba. So a young boy normally doesn't do this trek because it's so dangerous. He came on this trek. The Samaritan had a dream that the new prophet was coming. And he was advised to look into the sky and he will find him. I mean, he will know the remnants that he will be coming. This is a true story, brothers and sisters. The Samaritan, who's an Orthodox Christian, the real Christians who believed Jesus was a prophet, he was, and they made prostrations, they cleaned themselves, they lived a good life, and they always lived among the Muslims. So when the time came, he looked up into the heavens. He found a cloud that shouldn't have been there. And he was going at a slow pace. And he saw this cloud. He knew that now the Nabi that he had been waiting for, he's an old man now, has now arrived. Because John the Baptist had a book that he passed on talking about Jesus ﷺ and Prophet Muhammad, which in your Bible talks about Ahmed. Ahmed is another name for Muhammad ﷺ. That's right. Now, make it even further. Again, this is tied into the soul and spirit. It's tied in, brothers and sisters. The Vedas in India, they also covered this. That's why the Hindus are destined for the fire. Why? Because even in their books, they were told by Buddha okay, that a new prophet would come. Even in the Vedas, they gave the name of him and his parents' name, and that they were to follow him, which they never have. Now, we know many Hindus came now to Islam. We know this. But go back to this, and I'll be closing. The Samaritan scholar now saw the cloud. He was told by his helpers that a caravan from Jazira Arab is now arriving towards them. He was anxious, so he has his people come to meet the Arab caravan and offer him drink, because that's how it is, in those days. It's not like it is today. I'm talking in the West, you don't offer nobody nothing. In Muslim states, you do. You see people on the street, people come to your house, it's a given. There's no fuss and bother. They eat with you. There's no, playing around with that. It's not like in the West. But he prepared drink and food. So the one of the Sahaba came to meet the Samaritan and his helpers, and they invited him in to eat. The Samaritan began to watch each and every one of them. He knew they were not the one. He knew they were not the one that he had been waiting for all his life. So he asked the Sahaba, who was head of the caravan. This is before Islam. Our Nabi was 12 years old at this time. So they asked, he said, is there anyone else here? And he had saw the cloud had stopped, and it was still hovering out there by itself. So he asked the Sahaba, who was the head master of the caravan. He said, you have anybody else? He said, yes, we have a young boy out there tending to our camels and so forth and so on. He's out there. So the Samaritan asked him the name. He told him it was Muhammad. So he asked for them to bring Muhammad ﷺ to him. So they did. They didn't understand what was going on. They didn't understand. When the Samaritan saw our Prophet ﷺ, he knew it was him. He knew it was him. So he went to him, and he went, I forget which shoulder was the right shoulder. There's a mark that all the prophets have. He found the mark on the Prophet Muhammad. Now he knew. I give you this, brothers and sisters, to talk about the spirit and the soul, because there's many elements to it. The spirit is something that is, is ever changing with us as human beings. But the thing about the spirit is its purification is belief. The purification of that spirit is belief. This is why, brothers and sisters, now the Sufi masters, who have been given extra knowledge, deeper knowledge than most of our Islamic scholars, begin to make the nexus now of what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala told us in Mehr, and what he told us in the Quran. When he named, as you know, Mecca, Baka. Look at that. He named it Baka, a place of purification and so forth. Because we believe that there's a purification between the Ka and Ba at its right time. Then the place that we make the purification, now this is the only place on earth where the Ba and Ka basically kind of meet up, is at the Kaaba. Now look at this again, brothers and sisters. Mecca, and I will write this so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Mecca, and the days of no boy, this is Mecca, but it's funny how the computers seem to have this own mind. That it won't let me write out Mecca. I don't know why. Oh, okay, we write it. Hear me, maybe I'll spell it in a different way. Okay, I'll spell it in the old way, so that way, because my computer must be prejudiced. But Subhanahu wa Ta'ala called it Okay, this is one. Now, this is funny. This is very funny. It's not letting me. There we go. Okay, there we go. And oh no, see, the computer changed it again. Oh boy, that's amazing. It's Ba Ka. Okay, I can't believe that it's this is now it's changed it to Arabic. What is going on with my computer? Okay, there we go. Ba Ka. Okay, I'll just put it this way, so that way we will Ka. Okay, so that way we'll have it. Baka, but he called Mecca the city Baka. It's in the Quran, and I talked about this already in Surah 3, I think verse 97. I'm trying to remember now which one verse it is, but anyway, he talks about that. But I'm trying to make a point, brothers and sisters, to say to you that the Ka and the Ba in Islam, subhanahu wa ta'ala, now he talked about the Kaaba, which is now Baka. The first appears, see the Ba-Ka is the city, where the purification of the soul and the rest, the purification of the soul and the spirit is the Kaaba. See, again, and many of the Sufi masters are starting to see this, and they're starting to write about this. And there's one written in Arabic talking about he has discovered many words in the Quran now in Arabic that belongs in the Mehaneher. But he's still minusing some things, but he's on the right track. So anyway, brothers and sisters, I wanted to cover this part, and I'll cover other parts about this. I didn't want to go this long, but that's okay. I wanted to talk about this issue because it's important. Why? Because all of us, especially Black folk, we have to make sure that we understand. Because you should go back to your Genesis to understand Black people before you became Muslim. And you should understand something. In between the time of the Mehaneher was written, okay, was the language, meaning the language of God, okay, of Ra, if you want to say, or Amin Ra, and then we have Islam. In between here, we have all kind of religions, right? All of them have taken people to different directions. Here you have religion at the first, which they call the Ka, which is Mehaneher, the language of God, okay, of Ra, language of Yahweh, any name you want, and then Islam. These two here are more or less coincide in many degrees. There's differences because this is the primary, because it did not solve all of its mysteries, and there's things that they were doing, they were allowed at that time that is not allowed in Islam. Subhanahu wa ta'ala cleaned it up. But these two have a nexus. He have nexus with the Christians and the Hebrews as well. But we have no nexus with the Hindus, with the Shintoism and Taoism and all the others, because they went away from their message from Buddha, who preached Tawheed. And Zaki Naik, many of you know who he is, a great Indian scholar. Remember him, brilliant, converted thousands and thousands of people to Islam, is an expert on the Vedas and so forth and so on. He talked about how the Hindus have went away from that, added gods to it, and so forth and so on. And he's found in the Vedas that the Vedas told the Hindus to follow the new prophet when he comes, and they gave the instance of the prophet's father's name and mother's name and his name. So that's in the Vedas itself. See, so again, brothers and sisters, why this is an important aspect, because you as a Black person, you should understand, if you want to get closer to salvation, but you're not ready for Islam yet, then you look at the Kaaba. This will kind of give you more basis. Christianity is not leading you to the heavens, it's leading you to the fire. And one of the things I have many people I grew up with, and I love them dearly, but they're misguided because they're blindly following. But Isa, Jesus, tells you in the New Testament, he says, I'm not here to tear down the Torah, I'm here to enforce it. But then the other governing chapters in the New Testament tells people they can eat anything now, meaning pork, they can drink at will, they can fornicate at will, they can do what they want. The Europeans, the Tubab, took it further by their color and nationality alone. That takes them to the seven heavens. When they became Americans, by them virtually being American in control of world politics and the world pulse, by them being American, that was enough to get them to Jannah. This is why you see the movies and we see people when they die, people in the United States saying they're already looking down at them, which is preposterous. Because you didn't find that. Isa alayhi salam didn't say that. Because even in the New Testament and in the Torah, we talk about judgments. So wait a minute. You just died today. So what judgment is it that allowed you? Here you have fornicated. You didn't follow the Torah. You did not even follow the way of Jesus. You followed the way that the Europeans told you to follow. You follow some Eurocentric Christianity. You eat pork, you drink, smoke, fornicate, all that. I'm not trying to get down Christian. I'm just trying to make a point. In this religion, it does not give you the basis for you to understand to get you to the seven heavens. There's no understanding if you want the Ba or the Ka, and you're not Muslim. So Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is not going to give you the knowledge about the Ruh and the Nefs, which is the spirit and the soul. He's not going to give you that because you're not Muslim. And since you don't follow the Mehr Neher either, you won't understand the Ba and the Ka. You're going to be confused. And when you're not Muslim, you're going to still be confused because you don't know what the soul is the nefs, and the spirit. The soul is the ruh. You're not going to understand that. And so this is why this is a talk for everybody to get people online and bring the Christians to the right way. The Samaritans knew this. This is why the Samaritans, when they did find that the new prophet was who he was, many Samaritans did come. But you notice what happened to the Samaritans. They were decimated. When Islam became weak, they began to find the Samaritans everywhere and begin to assassinate them everywhere. Everywhere they would find the Christians, when they found Samaritans, they would kill them because they did not believe the way the Eurocentric Christians believe. They didn't believe that. They said it's a innovation. See, and the Samaritans, you read on them. John the Baptist had a book that you cannot find in the Bible. John the Baptist wrote a book explaining for the future about the new prophet, which will come after him, which was who? Jesus alayhi salam. And the final one that will come. John the Baptist, we know in Arabic as Yahya. We know him in the Quran, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala gave his name of Yahya. And he explained about that. Where are those books? Why didn't it not make it into the Bible? The Samaritans had them, and the Samaritans kept them because they knew that the corrupted Christians would kill them and burn these books, which eventually time they did. Some said that Samaritan had it, the book was buried. Others said that people took it. We do not know, but he died shortly after he met the Prophet. Now his life is completed. See, all of this is related, brothers and sisters, to our soul and to our spirit. I just give you a backdrop to prepare you about what I'm going to talk to you next, inshallah, bi'ithnillah. But Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, give me permission. I'm going to talk to you deeper about this because it's important. Each one of us is affected or be disaffected by what's happening with our spirit and soul. Because in the dunya today, it's an ongoing battle with the spirit, and you know that. And I believe in my heart, Allah Elam, when you have relief from the pressures and the evilness of this world is when you go to bed. This is why we have a remedy, a afkar, we call that, where we recite certain things before we go to sleep. When you are in the dunya, you spending your 12, 15, 17 hours of daylight, it's a constant battle of evil. You're always being tugged and so forth. The only time that you found the rest and salvation as the non-Muslims is when you sleep. When you sleep, it is said that Subhanahu wa ta'ala frees your spirit. And that's why you know, when you dream, you're in California, you just now left, I mean, just like a flick, you now went to Racine, Wisconsin or Milwaukee within seconds, or you fly in the air, see, or you glide in the air. I mean, there's a lot of things, or you go from one dimension to another. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is orchestrating this because Subhanahu wa ta'ala is the orchestrator behind the ruh and the nafs in Arabic and in Islam. And in Mahnar is the ba and the ka. So it's him. It's free. You're laying there. It's free. Now, when it's time for you to wake up, Subhanahu wa ta'ala orders the spirit back into the body that he's given us to hold the spirit. And then even Islam, we have a deeper, which I don't want to get more into that, get more confusion. That's a deeper part of the spirit. We call it sudur, meaning the heart, meaning there's something more deeper. You have the beginning, and you have something a little bit more deeper. But then the soul, which is purified, the one it's really under the command of Subhanahu wa ta'ala, is sitting away. The devil can't get to it. The dunya cannot get to your soul. It cannot. He can go after your spirit, but the soul is resting. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has that. We do not have all the answers to why that is, what's going on, and so forth. So, brothers and sisters, this talk here may not be a cup of tea because people may say, hey, look, I don't need to listen to this, man. I'm living here in Phoenix, Arizona. Hey, man, I'm white. I'm Tubaba. I'm going to heaven. That's guaranteed. Or some African American, he may say the same. I'm American, man. I got an American passport. When I pass, I go straight to heaven. All this misguidance because the Christians don't understand this aspect about the spirit and the soul. They have may have elementary understanding of that, and even that understanding is wrong. Islam, we clear this up to help you. But if you need to go back to the ancient time for you, black man, you go back to and understand Mehar, which is the language of God, and you start to understand the Ba and the Ka. Now, we have Europeans to a fault are writing about this, and a lot of it is wrong, brother, sister, as everything that goes on with Tom Mary and so from so on. A lot of it is wrong. I've been picking up a lot of books talking about the Ka and the Ba, and they don't explain it right. Some of it is down out. It's injustice about how they wrote. If somebody pick it up, it's going to leave the confusion. See, reason why it's confusion to them because they're not Muslims. They're Christians. That's why they don't understand Ka and Ba. That's why they don't understand the Ruh and the Nefs. They can't understand it. So when they write about it, when you read it, it doesn't make sense. See? So I'm giving you that, brothers and sisters, and I'm hoping that you run with this and follow me on the next talks because I'm going to follow this. Even maybe some people may not like this, but I want to get this out to you, brothers and sisters, okay? I want to get this out to you and let you decide how you want. But me as your elder, I want you to have a well-rounded education. I don't want you, black man, to only have knowledge about soccer, football, or American football, or the movie actresses and actors, and the famous entertainers. What's going to happen to you when you don't build your spirit? You are a black man here on this continent, and you say you follow Christianity, but you don't have an understanding about the spirit because you were told one thing which is wrong. See, but not only you, Christian, the Muslims too. We have Muslims who don't understand this thing about the nefs. They talk it, but if they understood it and they respected that and they understood it, they would be praying 5 times per day, which thousands of Muslims don't even do this today. They don't pray at all anymore. See, and we know this. That's everywhere in the Muslim states. Even outside Muslim states, we have Muslims who say they're Muslims. They don't pray at all. Some pray one time a year, two times a year. Some only pray during Ramadan. We have people who say the Muslims don't even practice Ramadan. They don't even fast in Ramadan. See, we have all that also in Islam. So I'm not picking only with them. But the Christians are far more misguided because what they follow is going to lead them to the hellfire. And I have to say it that way. See, I have to say it that way. So, brothers and sisters, this a recap, and I will be closing. In the Sahara, in Africa, brothers and sisters, okay, Africa, or what, any names you want. We're starting to get away from this name Africa because Africa is a European concoction. It means negativity. And I talked about this, remember 2 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now, I talked about this type of issue. And our brothers traveled the Sahara, and we know they talked about their soul and their spirit. When you in the Sahara Desert, I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, there's something magical about it. Wow. You look up into the heavens, you see thousands, millions of stars that you cannot see in the city. You see the moon like you never saw it before. And when you make your prayer, it's like you in another world of some sort. It's a different feeling. Now I understand why our ancestors loved the Sahara so much. Why they love it and why they stay in it. And they refuse to go back and they refuse to go to the city to live. They prefer to stay in because they feel closer to Subhanahu wa ta'ala when they're in the desert. And we know this, and our ancestors have been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. And when our brothers, ancient brothers, look into the heavens in the Sahara, why they became so deeply religious, because they had this foundation talking about the spirit and the soul. And when you're in the Sahara, it seems as though you're on the first step of its purification. When you live in the city life, it's very difficult to have a purification because of so much corruption around it. So your soul is always, your spirit is always under attack. And the only time your spirit is free from this attack in the dunya is when you sleep. When you sleep is when that spirit, subhanahu wa ta'ala, brings it out, let it go. And you thinking it's all night long. It's only seconds. You slept from 8 at night to 4 in the morning, you woke up and you kind of remember a dream you had. You think that dream lasted from 8 o'clock to 4 in the morning, 8 o'clock at night to 4 in the morning. It was only seconds. And this is what makes this so interesting. What happened to all that time in between there, between the very seconds before you got up, you might have dreamed. What happened to the 7.5 hours that you were sleeping before this dream? This is why I said, brothers and sisters, the spirit and the soul, there's something magical to it, and it's in the domain of Subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm getting very close to this, but I want to prepare you because I'm going to answer some of this and give you some things about what was talked about. What happens to your spirit from 8 o'clock when you went to sleep and you woke up at 4 in the morning? You had a dream, but that dream is only for seconds because it's true. So what happened to the 7.5 hours that you were sleeping? You can't account for. That's for another time, brothers and sisters. That's for another time. And I'm going to leave that there because I want you guys to think about this. And I'm going to put it down here so we can, for the next time, okay? What happens to the spirit at time of sleep. I want you guys to look at this and answer this. Okay, and if you sleep 8 hours, you dream which lasts into the seconds. What happened to the remaining 7.5? Oh boy, okay, this computer's starting to come after me again. Okay, where we go, 7. How we get that? We put this in 0.5 hours. Okay, I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to use you guys to review this here, please. Look at this here, and you guys give me your response to this, what you think to this. Is that the end? And you can come back to this again. What happens to the spirit at time of sleep? If you sleep 8 hours, you dream which lasts into the seconds only. What happened to the remaining 7.5 hours? I'll leave you with that, and I'm hoping that you guys will see this and you guys will think about this particular question and whatnot, and then give me what you think about, and we will talk about this the next time. So, brothers and sisters, I must go here and prepare for prayer. And till the next time, Salaam alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Anjarama.